All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to take a journey into a world that is literally all around us and inside of us, but totally invisible to the naked eye. We're talking about the cell, the fundamental, absolutely bustling unit of all living things. So let's get started by taking a look at what these building blocks of life actually look like. Just look at that. It might seem kind of abstract, but what you're actually seeing are the building blocks of a plant. Every single leaf, every root, every living thing is a metropolis of these tiny, incredible structures. They are the true engine of life. And get this, you are made of trillions of them, all working together perfectly. So that really brings us to the core question here, doesn't it? It seems so simple on the surface, but the answer to this question unlocks the very definition of what it means to be alive. What are these fundamental building blocks? To figure that out, we've got a 4-stop tour planned. First up, we'll see how we even discovered this hidden world. Then we're going to meet the cell's all-important gatekeeper. After that, we'll venture right inside the cellular city itself. And finally, we'll just take a moment to appreciate the universe within. Okay, our journey begins by rewinding the clock, way back to the moment our entire perspective on life changed forever, all thanks to the invention of the microscope. So it all started right here, with this guy named Robert Hooke, and, believe it or not, a piece of cork. When he put it under his pretty primitive microscope, he saw this honeycomb of tiny, empty compartments. They reminded him of the small rooms or cells that monks lived in. And just like that, the name stuck. Hooke basically opened the door, and then the rest of science just came rushing in. Over the next couple of centuries, scientists like Schleiden and Schwann realized, hey, this isn't just a thing with cork. All plants and animals are made of these things. Then another scientist named Virchow added the final crucial piece to the puzzle. Cells don't just magically appear. They have to come from other cells. And all of this incredible work led to one of the most important ideas in all of biology, what we now call the cell theory. It's this really simple but unbelievably profound idea that if something is alive, it's made of cells, period. But how do we even see them? Well, this is what's so cool. The technology has made this insane jump. A light microscope, kind of like what Hooke had, uses light and can magnify things maybe 1,500 times. But an electron microscope? It uses a beam of electrons, letting us zoom in up to 50 million times. I mean, that's the difference between seeing a city from an airplane and being able to read the serial number on a single brick in one of those buildings. It's a mind-blowing leap. Okay, let's move on to our second stop. Now that we know what a cell is and how we see it, let's zoom in and look at what separates it from the outside world. We're talking about its all-important outer boundary. So speaking very broadly, complex life like us is built from what are called eukaryotic cells. Here are the two main types. On the left, you've got an animal cell, which is kind of flexible and rounded. But look at the plant cell on the right. You can immediately see it has that more rigid, boxy shape. That's a cell wall, and it gives it extra structure. Now, these are way more complex than simpler cells like bacteria, which are known as prokaryotes. Prokaryotes are missing all the fancy internal parts we're about to explore. But one thing every cell has, from the simplest bacteria to our own, is this, the plasma membrane. Now, it isn't a solid wall at all. The best way to think about it is as a fluid mosaic. Just imagine it's like this flexible, oily bubble, with bigger proteins floating around in it like icebergs. This structure is what makes it such a selective and amazing gatekeeper. So, how does stuff actually get through the gate? Well, the easiest way is called passive transport. It takes zero energy from the cell. Think of it like a crowded room. People naturally spread out into the less crowded spaces, right? That's simple diffusion. It's how small things like oxygen just slip right through. But what if you need a little help getting through a busy doorway? Someone might hold it open for you. That's facilitated diffusion, where bigger molecules use a special protein channel to get across. But what if you need to pack more people into a room that's already super crowded? You'd have to push, right? You'd have to use energy. That's active transport. The cell has to spend its special energy currency, a molecule called ATP, to literally force things to go against their natural flow. It's exactly like pushing a huge boulder up a steep hill, and it is absolutely essential for keeping the right balance of stuff inside the cell. All right, we made it past the gatekeeper. Now for our third and most exciting stop, a tour of the bustling metropolis inside the cell, where all these specialized structures called organelles do all the hard work. Every city needs a government, a central command, and in the cell, that's the nucleus. This is City Hall. It houses the DNA, the master blueprint that contains every single instruction for building everything and running every single operation in the entire cell. Now, following the instructions from that blueprint, we arrive at the city's industrial zone, the endoplasmic reticulum, or just the ER for short. It's this massive, sprawling network of membranes that works as both a factory for making proteins and lipids and the highway system for shipping them all over the cell. Okay, so once things are made in the ER factory, they've got to be shipped to the right address. That's where the Golgi complex comes in. Think of this as the city's main post office. It receives all the materials, modifies them, sorts them, and then packages them into these little bubbles called vesicles for delivery either inside or even outside the cell. Of course, no city can run without its support crews, right? The ribosomes are like the individual construction workers on the ground reading the DNA's instructions to build proteins piece by piece. And then you have the lysosomes. They're the sanitation department, the recycling crew, breaking down all the waste and recycling old, worn-out cell parts. And none of this, I mean absolutely none of it, could happen without energy. So enter the mitochondria, the power plants of the city. These incredible organelles take food and convert it into that energy currency ATP that we talked about earlier. And this is why cells that do a ton of work, like your muscle cells when you're moving or your brain cells when you're thinking, are just jam-packed with thousands of mitochondria. They need a massive amount of power to keep everything running. Okay, for our final stop, let's just zoom back out for a second. We've seen all the individual parts, but the real magic, the real wonder is how they all work together in perfect, synchronized harmony. Just let that sink in for a moment. This incredibly complex city we've just toured, it's not just one city. In your body right this second, there are something like 50 trillion of them. Every single one is its own self-contained universe, operating with unbelievable precision. And this really is the main takeaway. A cell is so much more than just a bag of parts. As we've seen, it's a dynamic, living system where every single piece has a crucial role to play in this flawless coordination that creates the phenomenon we call life. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If one single, microscopic cell can operate with the complexity of a huge, bustling city, what does that imply about the complexity of the entire organism, the plant, the animal, or you, that's built from trillions of them working together? Thanks so much for joining me on this tour of the cellular world.